Veterans, did you know VA gets OPM, Office of Personal Management, assistance to carry out mass layoffs? I found an article that talks about these layoffs. So, in today's video, I'm going to share this article with you and give you some commentary as it breaks down these mass layoffs. Let's go ahead and get into it. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Dwayne. I got a video for that Kimball, United States Army veteran and retired VA rating specialist. Today's video. The VA gets assistance from OPM, Office of Personal Management, to help carry out mass layoffs. But before I get into today's video, make sure you click the link in the description section and get signed up for my upcoming webinar where I explain exactly the educational services I provide, what I do, what I don't do, and how you can work with me. So today's video, you heard me talk about it in some videos back in February and March, mass layoff cuts at the VA. But the most important question I'm going to answer in today's video, is it going to impact your VA claim? If the VA goes through with these mass layoffs, will it impact your claim? Okay, so let's go ahead and break it down. So, as you can see, this is the Federal News Network article that was written. Now, this is a few days old. I wasn't going to do this video because I didn't want to, scare veterans or anything like that. But somebody reached out to me, they provided the link. And when I read it, I was like, okay, I'm going to share some very valuable information that a lot of people probably saw some other videos and they got scared. Okay. So it states VA gets OPM assistance to carry out mass layoffs. Okay. The Department of Veterans Affairs is calling on the Office of Personal Management for assistance to carry out widespread layoffs, according to an internal document. Now, you have to understand how the VA is structured, broken down in three components: VBA, VHA, NCA. VBA, Veterans Benefit Administration; VHA, Veterans Healthcare Administration; and NCA, National Cemetery Administration. All of my videos, majority of them anyway, not all, are talking about compensation under VBA, Veterans Benefit Administration. Okay. Now, if they start making cuts under the compensation piece of VBA, you're going to see longer wait times. But they do clarify something that's very important that you understand in this article. We'll get to it here in a minute. Okay. Second paragraph, the VA, as part of an interagency agreement its Human Resource Office recently signed, will pay OPM more than $726,000 for its services to manage a massive reduction in force, RIF, with the goal of cutting more than 80,000 positions. Now, again, we talked about this back in February, and it is coming around again. Okay. A lot to unpack. A lot. Okay. So I'm not going to read everything in this article. You can find the link in the description section and just come back and skim through it. But again, bear with me. I'm going to get to the meat and potatoes. Okay. It says VA right here. This is where I'm at right here. This is what I'm going to read. VA proposed workforce cuts would be larger than other agency staffing reductions under the Trump administration so far. Okay. Federal courts have repeatedly challenged the administration plans to shrink the federal workforce on the grounds that OPM unlawfully directed agency leaders to make certain decisions, such as firing thousands of probationary employees. Now, I disagree with that, probationary employees. Here's why. You have some employees that have been around for a long time, doing a whole lot of nothing. And in When I was in the Army, we call them ROAD, ROAD, retired on active duty. Now, I'm no fan or I don't promote anybody losing their jobs. I get it. I don't promote that. But there are a lot of individuals at the VA sitting around doing nothing, especially in management, because the backlog is getting higher and higher. Still, the claims and inventory is still over what, a million last time I checked. Okay. So you have individuals making 150, 200, 300, $350,000 and they can't reduce the backlog. What is going on with that? Okay. It is crazy. Thousands of probationary employees. And I think what they're thinking about is, oh, they're new. We haven't invested a lot of money and time. Yes, you hired them. If they're already through training, they're in probationary period, let's say 24 months. I don't know what that probationary period is now, but let's just say it's 24 months. And they've been there for 18 months. You have invested a lot of time to train those individuals. Okay. So I think what they need to look at if they're going to go through with these cuts, look at performance. Not only VSRs, RVSRs, or whomever they're looking at, look at performance. Because if you have managers not performing, gotta go. Start there. Okay. All right, let's keep going. Oh, wait a minute. Okay, here we go. Right here, OPM has agreed to provide the VA with its workforce expertise, including program management, restructuring, planning, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. So, you're bringing in another agency into your agency, and they got to figure out where they're going to make all these cuts. Okay. I'm pretty sure that's going to be a very time consuming. But again, they may look at people who are not performing. And if they do that, make sure you look at some of those managers too. Okay. Not just the people that are on the ground doing the work. Okay. Let's keep going here. And I went through this. And again, I'm not going to read each individual paragraph. Make sure you click the link in the description section and you can go through this article more in depth. Okay. The VA secretary right here. Okay, let's read this. I think this is important. It says the VA Secretary Doug Collins has defended his goal to cut 15% of the VA's workforce before the House and Senate committees, telling lawmakers that money and people do not solve the problems. Now, let me know in the comment section what you think about that. And I'm going to give you my opinion as a former VA employee, rater. Okay. When I first hired in, we had about 28 people in our group. And over the course of the next, I want to say about 2 years after that, they had hiring groups like every 3 months, bringing in raters, training them, training, VSRs, training them. And guess what? The backlog was still high. It didn't come down. And management, and this is what gets me. They couldn't figure out the problem. At least they seemed they couldn't figure out the problem. The problem is it takes at least 18 to 24 months to get those employees integrated into that workforce. There is a lot of information to be taught and consumed at the same time. And so if you have somebody that's been there 18 months opposed to somebody that's been there 15 years, you're not going to get that same performance or the same production output. Okay. It's just not possible. The VA is very slow, and even I think in some instances to implement or even understand process improvement methodologies. Yes, the VA has made a lot of improvements, but they are still behind. That's where I feel you should have to start. And the reason why, because someone that came from the private sector that worked in management for several Fortune 500 companies, that's what they would teach us as managers. When you manage a department, process improvement, how to increase their production with less. Okay. I'm not going to say it's easy, but you have to be trained in some type of process improvement methodologies, understand that process, instead and then start giving feedback. But yeah, throwing money at it, mandatory overtime, hiring more people. I agree with that statement. It does not fix the problem. And again, if you have managers there that are making 300, 400,000 and they can't figure that out, that's a problem. Should you be paying them that amount of money? Okay. So right here, as part of the fiscal year budget proposal, the VA is looking to cut about 2,000 positions from Veterans Benefit Administration, about 6% of the workforce. Okay, the VA is broken down into three components: VBA, Veterans Benefit Administration, they just talked about it; VHA, Veterans Healthcare Administration; and NCA, National Cemetery Administration. On the VBA, who do you have? You have Voc Rehab, Home Loan Guarantee, Education, Insurance, Pension, and then the compensation piece. All right. So they're talking about out of, what do you say? I think 80,000, 2,000 positions from VBA. Okay. But here we go. Here we go, people. This is the elephant in the room. A VA spokesperson previously told Federal News Network that the VBA staff reduction outlined in fiscal year 2026 budget request has nothing to do with claims processing and instead focuses on non-mission critical positions. Claims processing. Majority of my videos, 99% of them, that's what we were talking about. The compensation piece, the money, the check that everyone receives at the first of the month for injuries they sustain on active duty. Now, who falls under that compensation piece? VSRs, RVSRs, DROs, BVA judges. And then they have like support, right? But VSRs, Veteran Service Representatives, they do all of the development, okay, and request exams. RVSRs, they adjudicate your claims, the rating activity. And you may be asking yourself, Dwayne, rating activity, what is that? Don't worry about it. Got you covered. I got a video on it. Then you have DROs, decision review officers. Okay. So with those positions, we have to ask ourselves, are they mission critical or non-mission critical? They are mission critical. Now, it didn't cover that in the article, but the reason why I know about that is because years ago, back when I rated, they talked about who's mission critical and who is non-mission critical. So if the VA, those 2,000 positions, if they start making cuts with VSRs, RVSRs, okay, and DROs and BVA judges, yes, your claim will be impacted. Okay. No ifs, ands, buts about it. For example, when I was working as an RVSR, they had the budget and the budget wasn't approved. And they sent the entire appeals department at my regional office home for 2 weeks. Those appeals, they didn't stop coming. They were still coming. And they started to pile up and pile up. And when those individuals came back 2 weeks later, they were bagged up maybe another 6 or 8 months. Okay. So we have to wait on the VA, VBA to tell us what positions are mission critical and non-mission critical. In my humble opinion, as a former VA rater, I don't think they're going to touch VSRs, RVSRs, DROs, and BVA appeal judges. Continue to submit your claim, get that claim on the books, because right now we don't know who's going to be impacted. Okay. So to ensure, if they do decide to cut any of those positions, to ensure your claim isn't impacted, make sure you go ahead and get that claim in now. Stay focused and do not give up. With that being said, make sure you like, subscribe, hit that notification button, and as always, share this video with your fellow veteran. Thank you.